Once upon a time there was a world, a true story, a long time ago. So wonderful and pretty, so far the eye reached, there were flowers, trees, everything was green, and so many different animals. All living things on earth lived in harmony. All lived in harmony to them surroundings and nature. The balance of the nature, what does it mean? Balance means, as example, it has to be all in the right amount. Is it out of balance? We have a problem. So the nature needs to be always in balance. If the nature gets out of balance, the nature again fixes itself, but this by a cost. So as example, we start here always with the base. The base of our earth is the plant and the sun. So the sun gives UV light to our plants, and our plants make the food. We say there, produce the food. So our plants produce food and oxygen. So the base of all life on earth are the plants. With the plants, we say there, again, we say they're producer, because they make our food. Then we have here the animals. We call them primary consumer, because they are the first that eat the plants. Primary consumer, we have many different type of primary consumers, from the smallest to the biggest. So also here, as example, we have bugs, we have insects that are also primary consumers, like the grasshoppers, like the caterpillars. So everything works in a circle. So as we here, we have the producer, we have here the primary consumer, and here as example, the secondary consumer. The sun energy, the sun gives us energy not only in heat or in light, so also the energy that the grass needs to produce food. From the grass, this energy from the sun, we see it here, the energy from the sun goes into the grass. From the grass, this energy goes into the primary consumers, and from the primary consumers it goes further to the secondary consumers, like here the lion, because the grass needs light, UV light, for photosynthesis. With the photosynthesis, the grass produces the food. The deer eats the food, so the energy from the sun goes through the grass into the deer, and from the deer this energy goes into the lion. The lion can't eat the grass directly, or take the energy directly from the grass, because the lion is a carnivore and the deer is an herbivore. So herbivore animals eat only plants, as example elephants, rabbits, grasshoppers, deers, caterpillars, and many other animals. The second class from the animals are carnivores. So the carnivore animals that eat only meat, animals that eat only other animals. As example, we have here spiders. The spider can't eat grass, so the spider eat, as example, other insects. The eagle, a wolf, tigers. These are all typical carnivores. So also the snake. The omnivores are animals that can eat plants and other animals. A very typical is here the pig. Here we have a wild pig. So the wild pig can eat meat or can eat plants. Very typical also here the bear. Very huge animal. Lives in the forest. It eats bears. It eats grass. But it can eat also other animals. And here, on top of the food chain, are the people. So people here, we are carnivores and herbivores at the same time. So there we call omnivores. We can eat plants, fruits, and meat. So here we have as example a typical food chain, same as you draw it in the notebooks. The sun energy goes into the producer. From the producer it goes into the primary consumer, and then this energy goes around till to the decomposers. The decomposers break down the animals and bring this energy back into the soil. So here then the nutrient for the glass again. So it is always a circle. This circle is unbroken. Everything lives, everything dies one day. A food web is a little bit more complicated, more difficult to think and to make. Same here on the bottom, we have here the plants. Then in the next row we have the animals that eat the plants. And in the next row we have the animals that eat the animals that have eaten the plants. So as example we have the rabbits, grasshoppers, deer. The squirrel as example is not a typical herbivore, it is an omnivore because it can eat bugs too. So but the squirrel get eaten from the hawk. So also the mice, the grasshoppers get eaten from the mice. The snake get eaten from the hawk. Rabbits. So also here we have many different animals that depend on each other. Depend means the grass needs the grasshopper. The grasshopper is needed to feed the mice as example, the squirrel. The rabbit is needed for the snake has food. So if one animal get cut out here in this food web, it will have a problem for other animals. Environment I call here the specialists. Every animal is a specialist in their environment. What does this mean, specialist? Same, not everybody can fix a car. Not everybody can build a house. So that I need people that learn, that are specialists to build a house, that are specialists to fix a car. So also animals are specialists in their environment. Environment means the place where they live. So as example we have here the polar bear. The polar bear is a specialist to live in the very, very, very cold. We have here the tiger. The tiger is a specialist to live in the forest. We have here the lion. The lion is a specialist to live in the savanna. So here you can as example see how specialized the animal is. You see here the grass, the color of the grass, and you see here the fur from the lion. So we have here a perfect camouflage. Only difficult to see the animal. So why this animal need to hide? It not need to hide. It is strong. It is fast. it can kill almost everything. So why need it to fight? To hide, sorry. It needs to hide because it doesn't want to see, it doesn't want to be seen. So this animal has a camouflage. Here, a very typical camouflage, a very extreme good camouflage of a lizard. A lizard on a tree. You almost can't see it. So you have to look very closely if the animal doesn't have the eyes open. So we have here as example the feet. You almost can't see it, and it looks like a tree. It looks like a part of a tree. Here owls. Owls also here, very typical, specialized of camouflage in their environment. So here we have the typical environment of a savanna. Very beautiful, very dry. And you see here on the bottom, the grass is dead. And here the trees still are green. So the animals in this environment are specialized to live in the savanna. The giraffe, as example, got specialized with a long neck. It doesn't mean the giraffe many years ago, many million years ago, the giraffe has a long neck. It doesn't have. It has a short neck. Over millions of years, the giraffe got a longer neck because the giraffe eat the leaf from the trees. It can't eat the grass on the floor because there is almost nothing. The zebras are specialized to eat the dry grass. So every animal in the savanna is specialized to live there, to be happy there and involved there. Here as example the plants in the savanna. You see here very typical, the roots go very deep into the soil. This is because the savanna is very dry and the water is very deep in the soil. So the plants have long, big roots that go deep into the soil for can take water. Here we have another environment, a desert. So when you compare the plants from a savanna to a desert, so the desert here as example doesn't have deep roots because it doesn't make sense to have deep roots because the water is too deep down, unreachable with long roots. So they take care about the water in them stems. Here as example the cactus and other plants. There are also again animals that are specialized to live in the Sahara, in the desert. Here we have a picture from the Antarctica. Antarctica is always very cold because it's in the pole and the south pole. Also there are animals specialized, same as example here, a rabbit, white color, not easy to be seen. Here, the polar bear and many other animals. Also plants are specialized to live in the region of the polars. Here we have the wetlands, a land that is always wet, filled with water. Also there we have different type of plants and different type of animals. Animals and plants that are specialized to live and survive in so wet area. Nature goes always back to balance. It fixes the problem by any needs. What do I mean with that? Same as example here we have a balance. This is out of balance. So we have there a nature that goes out of balance, means something is wrong in the nature. Maybe too many animals. So as example, we have here an environment that is okay. So we have a few animals and we have a lot of grass. So these animals live happily there, have enough food. But as example, when there come more and more and more and more animals, I don't have more grass for that. So they will eat all grass away, and then we talk there about overgrazing. So here as example, you see the floor, you see the soil, and the grass is very, very rare. So what will happen when these animals try to get food on this area? The grass will disappear and the animals will die. Come back to our nature, and this is us. Also, we make problems with our environment. We make big problems with our environment. We are the only living thing on earth that not live with the environment, that not live with the nature. We build cities, we pollute our air, our water, our environment where we live. People go hunting, not for food, just for fun, kill all the animals. Deforestation, we cut trees down for make toilet paper and other things we not really need, but we don't care. And then one day everything will end up in a desert. On the next stage, what will happen is the death. So we need to change, because the nature come back again. When everything dies on earth, the earth won't die. We die, the animals die, the plants die. And then, after a period of time, the nature come again. We will have again plants. And everything start over again, like with the dinosaurs. The first dinosaurs appeared, the first life appeared. Everything will come again, but maybe without people. Will people survive if happens something like that? Maybe a few will. Same here, we see people live in a forest. No electricity. They just try to live with the nature again. So him here, I say there, maybe a few will survive, those that remember to live with the nature, not use the nature. Like here, Indians in South America, till today they live in the jungle. The jungle feeds them, give them clothes. They are happily there. They have another lifestyle as we. They not need cars, they not need phones, they not need everything what we have. They live in the nature and are happily in the nature there. Children have to play, have time. Nobody hungers because the jungle gives the people everything they need. It doesn't mean you don't have a home, you don't have a family. You just have to learn of another lifestyle.
At this point, you know how to make food chains. For example, let's start with a producer, a plant. In this case, grass. Well, rabbits love fresh grass. They need lots of it for energy to bounce around so much. In this case, the rabbit is the primary or first consumer. In the same way, foxes love rabbits. foxes need to get their energy from smaller animals, like rabbits. In this case, the fox is the secondary consumer. Sometimes, foxes are hunted by coyotes, wolves, or bears. But in many ecosystems, foxes aren't hunted by any natural predators. So, in environments like this, we call the fox the apex predator. Thus, we have completed the food chain. We can think of each animal as a link in a chain. Thus, the name food chain makes total sense. Let's make another food chain. Let's start with our producer, a plant. In this case, a berry bush. Well, many small birds love berries. They need lots of energy to fly around and sing songs. In this case, the bird is the primary or first consumer. In the same way, owls eat smaller birds. Owls get their energy from smaller animals, like small birds. In this case, the owl is the secondary consumer. Because owls aren't usually hunted by any natural predators, we call the owl the apex predator in this food chain. Again, we can think of each animal as a link in a chain. Thus the name food chain makes total sense. These nice and tidy food chains definitely help us understand the way that nature transfers energy from one species to the next. But, as you know, nature isn't quite so tidy. For example, a grasshopper also loves grass. A caterpillar also loves berry bushes. A mouse would enjoy either grass, berries, or even a grasshopper or caterpillar. A small bird would not only enjoy berries, but would also be very happy to get energy from a grasshopper or a caterpillar. A raccoon would gladly eat grass, berries, grasshoppers, caterpillars, and even mice and small birds. A snake would also happily get energy from mice or a small bird. The fox loves rabbits, but would just as happily go after mice or small birds. The owl loves small birds, but would just as happily go after snakes, mice, or even rabbits. What about a black bear? He's the biggest animal in many Canadian forests. The bear is typically happy to eat grass, berries, and various insects. They'll eat other animals, but typically only if they're already dead. Our nice tidy chains are now all messed up. Instead of a straight chain, with each animal representing a link in the food chain, we have lines all over. It no longer looks like a chain. With lines everywhere, it looks more like a web. Yes, with lines everywhere, this looks more like a spider web. Thus, you probably won't be too surprised that we call this type of diagram a food web, a system of interlocking and interdependent food chains that all connect together. In this tutorial, we took our understanding of food chains and showed how we can combine multiple food chains within an ecosystem to create a food web. Food chains are straight lines starting with a producer and ending with an apex consumer. Each organism is like a link in the chain, a food chain. In a food web, we no longer have a straight chain. We have lines all over, showing the interlocking relationships between the food chains. Instead of a chain, all those lines make it look more like a web. Thus, you can remember that this interdependent diagram is called a food web.